time for Shiny Side Out with Dave and Mecky. So I hope you have your tinfoil hat all made and cinched down tight over your ears. So take it away, Dave and Mecky.
And thank you, Nighthawk. Welcome to
Dave.
That's him. And Mecky, Shiny Side Out on Revolution Radio. On Revolution.radio. From Australia, the land down under. That's right. It's real. Is it? Or is it? The only one way to find out. Come here and find out for yourself. Take a plane to Australia and see if you fall off the edge of the world. See what happens. Home to ideas that are fresh, unadulterated. Conversations in the chat room are always great. I'm not in there yet. I will get in there very quickly because that's what I like to do. It's always fun. Actually, it's recently really great interaction in the chat room. So I do urge you, if you listen to this canned on whatever platform, YouTube or Tumblr or wherever you might find us, come listen live and go into the chat room. Go into the chat room. It's always fun to find people that have something to say. Always is. Always. This is a show number 600 and something. 55. That's what I said. No one is listening to me. Always the same. 655, 550, and 600. That's a lot of shows. That's true. It's not getting any less. You know what? You can catch the show on the air like now, right now, on the line, which is also right now, and onto your smart device, which is also right now. So on the line all the time. If you can't get us live, get us on any of a variety of platforms that host us. It's all good. Or at home on a Grace Tabletop Digital Radio. That's also good. You can do that. If you missed the last show, that's okay. Because you can catch her on the archives, which are free. Free. And you really should, because Solaris is, 5 kinds are awesome, so you should really see if you can catch her. And she's actually in a slightly more attractive time slot than we are, hopefully, for a whole bunch of our listeners. So it should be a bit easier to listen to her, but you definitely should. And then you should go back to the archives and listen some more there of great guests, always great guests. Do that, and do it. Well, not now. Do it after our show finishes. That's what you do. When our show finishes, you run to the archives. Why don't you?
So if you don't know, she had Cyberwitch Cafe on with Niche.
Of course she did. Well, it's awesome. Always good fun. And her guests are really fun as well. We'll see if we can get her on our show soonish. There's a few people that should come to our show. I think we should get Michael
Tillinger back. Yeah.
And also Mr. Alex Politis, 411. Gentleman who does a lot of research.
Yes. David Politis.
Sorry, David, not Alex. David Politis. My bad. I apologize.
You're keeping his identity secret.
That's right. We call him Alex so no one can track him down. That was the trick. What? Before we start broadcasting at Unanga, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast, even if you think it doesn't exist. For Dave...
I'm lucky enough to be in Dark and Junk country.
That he is. And I'm in the wonderful, very large country of the Barak people. Very, very large area. Very, very large. And we would like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future, custodians of the land. And if you look what's happening today in the world, that they did a good job. We not so much. Not so much. Not really. But without further ado, here we are. And look, I don't like beating a dead horse. I don't, because there's no enjoyment. All the screaming has stopped. The blood is starting to coagulate.
That's what you enjoyed more than. Yeah, that's funny.
You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, it's getting from one superlative to the next, right? And I'm talking about the weather here at the moment, and we'll get to politics in a second, but there's this massive storm that made landfall over the last couple of days, in Florida, the Panhandle, and up into Georgia as well. The path is pretty much, straight up there. Killing, last count, so it killed 50 people. 66 people were killed in floods in Nepal, which just came on hot on the heels of. Oh, sorry, I'm wrong. 63 people are dead.
Yeah, it says above 60. That's what
in the southeast. Yes, 63. And I look at some of these flood pictures and go, holy moly, that's serious devastation. It really is. But yeah, Nepal. That comes hot on the heels, of course, of the European floods.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say though? I mean, it's just, and I think Dave, did you share this? I think you might have shared it with me. There was a news report that said what we're experiencing right now is the new normal.
That's right. I shared.
You shared it, right? Yeah, I thought you did.
And this is from the official weather places and news outlets.
Do you remember how we've been talking this now for?
We've been talking about that for years.
Actually, it's been years. That is, yes, it's terrible. But the one thing that bothers me the most about this whole climate debate, right? And again, I'm not saying it's anyone's fault. I'm not saying all I'm saying is something is happening. Okay? And I think it's very hard to say that. Anyway, whatever you might believe, that's fine. But the problem that I have is that nobody is trying to do something about the fact that we have to live with this situation. Let me put it this way, right? There are quite a few countries in the world that are low-lying, below sea level. Like Holland, the Netherlands is one, right? Singapore is another. There's a lot of parts that are reclaimed and under. And there's a few other countries like that as well. Those countries are preparing. They're preparing. Island nations are preparing. Indonesia is moving its capital because it's sinking, right? Island nations have to do this because essentially it's move or drown, really. The coastal areas are, of course, at risk as well. And it's not so much the sea level rise that is the problem here. And this is actually what it became really clear as Hurricane Helen made landfall. People talked about this. It's the storm surges we have to worry about.
Storm surge, yeah, that's right.
So yeah, it goes up an inch, goes up 2 inches, who cares, whatever, right? But actually has a multiplying effect on the storm surge, right? And there were some reports initially that said the storm surge could be as high as 20 or 30 feet.
Yeah.
Extra on top of what used to be. I mean, that's
anywhere between 4 and 6 meters they were talking about.
Yeah, and it was going to go scores of miles inland as well. The flood was.
That's right.
And it did. It didn't get too quite as catastrophic as they had predicted, but it was bad enough. And like I said, 63, and that's in a first world nation. This is America.
Mm-hmm.
With warning and emergency services and infrastructure. No,
yeah. I know. I'm hearing it. I totally hear you.
Yeah, if a third world nation, and again, but there's no reason why they wouldn't be. Nepal clearly is being hit with this kind of weather. But if third world nations are hit with this, I mean, we had storms in Vietnam just recently, and Japan and China flooding, and
that's right. Yeah,
the list goes on and on. And each event on its own is meaningless. It is.
That's because you consider it a one-off. Doesn't matter. It's somewhere else. What is it? What's the problem?
What's the problem? But when they happen everywhere, all the time, relentlessly, and they're getting stronger.
On the line, and it's now declared as the new normal that we get these all the time. Do you know who were really comfortable in the olden days, Mackie? Like pre-2000. Do you know who were really comfortable? Insurance companies.
Oh.
Insurance companies now are determining risk like never. What do they call it? Actuarials, right? They are now determining risk on a rate that is insurance decline. We're declining to insure your property because of the risk of flooding. But that's what we want. We want flood insurance. Well, you can't have it. You can't have fire insurance either. We're just going to abandon you. In Australia, Mickey, in Lismore, who have just had floods yesterday, huge south coast or east coast low, just pushed water. I've got all my friends up there. They pushed water on land. Bangalore Road that goes through the valley was completely underwater. That goes from Bangalore to Lismore, if you want to look at the map. And that road was closed. All the houses were evacuated. The thing is that people's insurance weren't auto-renewed. They just declined to accept any money. They just stopped debiting people's accounts for their insurance payments, stopped debiting their credit cards. If you've made an agreement with your insurer and they've got an annual renewal, they just, we're not going to renew it. It's like, you what?
The thing is, there actually isn't anything you can do. I mean, everybody's got the right to refuse business. You do. It's
That's
a business.
Right.
You don't have
it's called something. It's called something. I read it the other day.
It's right of refusal. I mean, you don't have to provide.
Yeah. They've got a special name for it now.
You'll find it, my friend. I'm sure you will. Yeah. But the thing is this, right? So we're seeing a shift in the way we live and the way our civilization conducts itself. So number one is, of course, in my mind, what upsets me is that nobody's looking at how we can start to live with this. Right? What are the preparations we need to undertake to live with this? Because as we move forward, certain areas of the planet will become uninhabitable. Not uninhabitable because you can't live there anymore. I mean, yeah, there will be, like natural disasters, but we could make do. I mean, people live through floods. People live through fires. You can do it.
Yeah, right? The people live through it, yeah.
Yeah, but the problem is here that, let's say you're flooded out or burned out or the wind rips your house apart or whatever the case may be, right? Maybe a snowstorm, I don't know. But if you are not insured, which is what Dave is mentioning here, if you're not insured, that means you won't have any money to rebuild.
That's right.
That's really the long and short of it. And if the insurance companies refuse to insure you in those areas, right, then only, I guess, maybe desperate people that can't move or foolhardy people or people that are, in denial might live there in those areas. Like here in Queensland and Brisbane, there's a whole floodplain where people shouldn't build anymore because it's a floodplain. Mm-hmm. So, and other areas in the world are going to be similar where it might be too hot in summer. Like, I mean, unlivably hot. Okay, 50 degrees, 55.
They become climate refugees.
Completely. Other areas are just going to be subject to really massive storms. And you could live there, I guess, for 6 or 7 months of the year. You could, right? Maybe you've underground bunker-type houses, right? Potentially. Because there's no point having any above-ground structures. They'll just be, destroyed and blown away, flooded out, whatever. So you could do that, or you could drive your RV in for 6 months of the year and then drive it out when storm season starts. I mean, I can see kind of like nomadic lifestyles developing here, Dave.
Well, I'll tell you what car you don't want to leave behind at your house. Tesla. With the storm surge, because it's salt water, do you know what happened?
It's very conductive.
They caught fire and burned the people's houses down. So not only do they have flood damage, but their house was burnt to the waterline. That sounds like a boat reference. I'm not kidding. I'm so not kidding. Someone parked, they went, the risk, I know, the guy's house across the street, the car flooded and, it burnt the house down. So they were a bit higher up and they just parked it on the street outside. It melted outside.
Yeah.
It was inundated with salt water and it thermal runaway and it's gone now.
It's not awesome. It's not awesome. You want to have I know it's going to sound terrible, but you need the old petrol engines and diesel engines to live through this kind of stuff. In my opinion only, hey, but you do what you do you do you.
You do you, because you do you better than we
boats, like low keel, boats, boats that are very low in the water, like the ones you find in the Everglades in Florida, they're good.
Yeah.
To get around, I think, because there'll be a lot of debris, and the less of your boat actually is in the water, the better. So the waterline of the boat should be, fairly high.
Skiff, they're called, or something, right?
They're called,
very,
like
very low angle, yeah.
Yeah, like a flatbed, and then just the big propeller at the end, at the back of it. I love those.
I always wanted to drive one.
Me too.
Or
because
pilot one, whatever you want to call it.
You could just go over reed and really, shallow
all
water.
The crocodiles, alligators.
Alligators, there you go. No one is really preparing people on how to live. I mean, I guess what will happen, inevitably, people will naturally find new ways to live. But this is what I find interesting, right? Now, insurance companies are refusing to insure fairly large sections of the population if they choose to live where they live, right? How will they stay in business? How are they going to stay in business? And as these disasters will become more severe, can the insurance industry actually survive? And I want to say here, no.
They won't. They'll only survive by insuring the very low-risk things.
Yeah, I'll insure your set of marbles. That's what I'm going to insure.
They'll still be intact. Yeah, that's right.
And it might be the government that will have to take a more active role in supporting its citizens, like it should. Guess what? This is my favorite beef I have with this particular reality, with this world. The government was always meant to be for the people. That's it. That's meant for the people. Not just in America, but anywhere. Because if it's a democratically elected government, but even if it's not, right? I mean, if it's not, then okay, there's more, you would expect more corruption and stuff like that. You would. But you get the same amount of corruption in both, democratic and otherwise, governed nations. The problem that I have, it is not for the people anymore. People are elected representing people, and they're really only making sure that they are going to be okay, and the people that give the money are going to be okay. So big money is going to be okay. So our system is not designed anymore to look after the people, which it was meant to do in the first place. I mean, the whole reason we got together, started building cities and countries and nations and international cooperation and the UN and all that wonderful stuff is so people could look after each other better. That's really the fundamental thing, right? I mean, at least that was the ideal spin on things. That's not happening. So governments are failing by privatizing, by overtaxing, by being corrupt. In Australia, I mean, oh my God, the corruption here is just staggering. You don't see it. It's not in your face. But when you look at the outcome of everything, you go, there's no way this is not corrupt. It's impossible for this not to be corrupt, right? And it's the same everywhere else. The big money people will be fine. Just in case you're worried, they're going to be okay. Okay, they're going to be just fine. The other folk, the people that have to run away from the fires, the floods, the storms, the snow, the land and mudslides, and the locusts and the frogs, and the brimstone. That's it. They're not going to be they're not going to be okay. They're not going to be so okay. But this is really something, Dave, that bothers me, because government has to take a more active role. Local government, right? State government and federal government needs to take a more active role in supporting its people. And what happened after Katrina was completely unacceptable. I don't know if you remember this, right? I mean, really, seriously, what? And we also need to start living differently. I'm not saying we have to become more green or start using electric cars. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is prepare yourself for these events. Prepare yourself. For the first time since I've lived here, and I've lived in my neighborhood now for 16 years. 16 years. I've lived in this particular neighborhood 16 years. And last week, taking my kids to and from school, for the first time ever, I saw backburning right near my street.
Yeah.
Never seen it before. Never, ever, ever have I seen backburning right near my street. Not saying it's a bad thing. What I'm saying is that people are starting to think on their feet. They're going, hey, maybe we should do something. And that's also because they started taking Aboriginal lore and Aboriginal customs and understandings of the forest and the bush into account.
Finally listening.
Management. Yeah. I'm sure it's similar for you, right? Up in Narara.
Oh, look! When I was first built and moved in, my house wasn't even complete. I moved in once we got to lock up, and it was deemed safe by the council. And then I finished the interior myself. So when we first moved in, they did a council burn behind my house. I mean, 8 feet away from my house at the back, because that's where the fire trail goes. My house is built almost up to the fire trail, which is good. And but when I was coming home, I just saw my house on the hill with an enormous fire behind it, and I've run home immediately and was quite worried. And then she goes, I saw the people walking through the bush setting fire to it, and they were fireys. And I go, okay, cool. That's what we call firefighters here, fireys. And so the person with the little oil can with the dripping flames skipped ahead along the fire trail and set fire to way more than was anticipated by the people coming through the back doing the cleanup. Way more. And they had to get some services in to manage it. And only and that was 20 years ago almost. And only just the other weekend did they do a little bit of fire on the other side of the hill, a little bit of back burning. That's it. So we've had 20 years of the bush, and the last 3 years were wet, and everything's thickened up and you can't see 10 feet in. I like using feet for measurements for a visual reference, because if I said, you can't see 2.5 meters in, you what, Dave? What? Right. So
meter, quarter pounder?
Quarter pounder, I'll take it. I'll have a quarter pounder. So if you go to the shop, right, without onion. So it does disturb me, Mackie. It disturbs me greatly that we haven't really done very much of it. And every time you do it, you're increasing the carbon footprint. And, who's going to end up, because, Mackie, I'm referring to that report from the government about the carbon, and most of the carbon produced in Australia is, even though it's recyclable carbon, no one cares. It contributes to the carbon footprint of Australia, apparently, according to the people who didn't distinguish between the two of renewable carbon or recyclable carbon and net new carbon. Fools. I even sent it to one of the senators, Mackie, one of the senator who really is listening. The rest are all taking from the same card deck. You know what I mean? It's all ordered. They know what they're doing. They've got a plan. Well, actually, they don't know what they're doing. They've got a plan. Someone else's plan. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But there's only one senator who is paying any attention to what's really going on, and he's on the outside of that group, and he's questioning everything that's going on, and he's making a noise and making a name for himself as being a problem to them. So, and that's right. I like that that's where that is. But Mackie, the only reason I'm bringing this up, this misinformation and disinformation bill right now, isn't to discuss the bill, but it's the problem that the government was trying to fix when they did a survey and found that 34% of the people in our country thought that the internet was a problem because of misinformation. 34%. The older people, the young people differed. There was a cutoff where the young people favoured the bill and the older people said, well, we can make the decision for ourselves. The younger people were like, I've got problems being offended by stuff, and I really want that to go away. That's harmful to me. But the older people, and certainly Gen Xers, we don't care. We don't care about it because we're able to distinguish the media itself, these big names that call themselves out to be fact checkers and happy and this, and they do all the right things, they say. They don't read the same story across all the channels. They read a story that favours their slant on the world. No, it favours their audience's slant.
Who pays them? So you're right. They're both pandering, but they're also paid. So if you have a study done on fast food, and it's wonderful benefits for your health that is sponsored by McDonald's, you should maybe take it with a grain of salt, right? So
sugar versus fat, Mackie, that was sponsored.
Sugar versus
sugar.
I want sugar and fat. Wait, what are you talking about? Sugar and fat.
I mix them together now. I don't care anymore. So
I just put salt in my sugar and fat. But yeah, it's.
Do you have any more sugar and salt for my fat? So, Mackie, what's really funny is that one of the biggest arguments from the national broadcaster here in Australia, called the ABC, they've actually gotten rid of a contract that they had with a now disgraced RMIT fact-checking unit. So they were found to be extremely prejudiced towards a certain narrative, and when found out, the ABC bailed on the contract. So haven't we discovered that about there's bias in all of the fact-checking?
I think it's let me put it this way. I think it's an unregistered and even unnoticed and unaware bias, in my opinion. I don't think people set out and what happens is we live in the world. We all live in the world, and we're brought up in a certain way, and then you make it to a certain position in life, and there you are. And then you get hired by a certain body, and they, obviously interview, and they figure out who you are. So I think that they're hiring all the people that have a certain disposition. I don't think people change their view on things, and so for them, they're not putting on an act. Is what I'm saying to you, right? They're not trying to be anything specific. They're just themselves when it comes to fact checking. Or I mean, look at the old, when they certified the bonds and the shares, prior to 2008. You have to have a certain moral flexibility, but also a certain Weltanschauung, a worldview. I mean, if you pick a jury, right, and you're on trial for murder, let's say, right, and you're not going to pick anyone that had someone murdered in their family, would you? That's not going to happen.
Well, not today.
Well, not today, you wouldn't. So you pick and choose who goes where. So there is an inherent bias already. You don't have to do anything or not much more than that. Let me give you a really good example. Look at the American Supreme Court, right? You got all these people there. These are appointments for life, by the way, right? And they want to change it. No, good luck to them. But these are appointments for life. So these judges get appointed to the court, but they're appointed by the sitting president. Now they have to pass Congress and such, in the hearings, they have to be confirmed. That's all true. But ultimately, you can't reject all the candidates. Eventually, you have to appoint someone to the Supreme Court, right? And usually, the people that are the sitting government, the sitting administration picks people that they like, or that will further their policy agenda. The best example is right now, when Trump put a few in, the Bushes put a few in, they're still there, right? So quite a few, let's say, conservative judges in there now, right? In fact, probably the majority are conservative, or conservative leaning is in American terms. And when Roe v. Wade was overturned, right? There was, when I heard about look, I'm pro-life, I am, full stop, but I'm not a woman. I can't tell a woman what to do. I can't. Right? I can give options. It'd be nice if there were more options, but that's society. That's the failing of society, that we don't give women in certain circumstances more options. Okay? Right? We have failed. As a society, we have failed to give women options to carry to term and adopt, or whatever the case may be, right? And we don't know all the circumstances either. And certainly in cases of violence or incest or rape, I don't have a leg to stand on, right? I can't say, no, I'm sorry, but it's her body, and she went through trauma, and she should be able to do what she needs to do. I firmly believe that, right? It's unfortunate, but that's the world we live in, right? So we have to live in reality. So we can't be blind to these realities. It's completely naive and stupid. Nonetheless, it was overturned. Now it's up to the states to decide, and then some states have blanket decided no, and other states are coming back and bringing it back. So the federal protection is gone. So it's now state by state, which leaves a lot of women.
That's right.
Yeah, it leaves a lot of women shortchanged. They don't have the money to travel to other states, etc., etc., etc. And then, of course, one of the key reasons that Roe v. Wade actually made it into federal law was because a lot of women were going to places that were unsafe, inherently unsafe, which led to a lot of people dying, undergoing these shady procedures in backyard clinics.
And it was supposed to legislate to ensure that they all met a certain standard.
Of course.
And
100%.
practice. That's right.
Yeah. So let's be clear what we're talking about here. But my point is not that. My point is that if you place enough people of your ilk, of your thinking into a place, you can then, you don't have to ask for them to do anything. They will just do what they do.
That's right.
Do you know what I mean?
Your jury example was very good.
Yeah, you don't have to tell them anything. They will act according to whatever they think is right. And that's fair enough too. That's a failing of the systems that we have, and our systems are complete failures. So, by the way, all legal systems, everything. If you look at some of the stuff that happens even in Australia, honestly, Dave, our legal system, you got to shake your head. You got to go, hang on, no, that's not right. And when I sort of lost all faith, I was always sort of teetering, right? I lost all faith in legal systems in general, but in the American one and specifically when I heard that a burglar could slip in your house and, I don't know, break a leg and can then sue you because that burglar slipped in your house. For me,
unless it's Florida.
Sorry?
Unless it's Florida, because I saw
Texas. In Texas, you've got a right to armed response. Yeah, but there has to be signage there, right? So you're actually better off shooting the guy than having him come in and break his leg. That's all I'm saying.
That's what the Floridian sheriff said. I don't want to be misquoted. So a policing official of some kind, don't know his rank or where he was, but he said, in Florida, we prefer you shoot them.
Yeah, less paperwork.
Yeah. And it was a great quote, and it did get people, upset, to be honest. But should people be breaking into your house? No. And in a land where it is, you've got crime up, but you also have, legal, within the certain conditions, legal access to weapons, and you have to have a gun safe, all of these things you have to do, right? Great. That's fine. I appreciate the strength of the words from the sheriff. I'm not saying I agree with them. I appreciate that. And I don't know. We'll have to see over time what that means in statistics to come out to say, did that lower the break-ins? I wonder. Or did they go up? I don't know. But
but see, this is the thing. When the laws are harsh, draconian even, there's an immediate impact. And again, I bring up Singapore because I spent a lot of time there. I like the place for various reasons. Doesn't matter. But the point is this. Singapore has got extremely strict laws, and they're also enforced. So it's one thing to have laws. That's wonderful. You've got the laws. That's great. But they also enforce them. So let me put it this way. There was this American kid, teenager, right? And he graffitied, I think, something. I don't know what but he graffitied something. And he was then, found guilty, and the judgment was he gets, I don't want to lie, I can't remember how many, 10 or 20 whacks on the feet with the cane.
Oh, okay. Right?
That's what he got, right? But that was the sentence. And I don't think it was jail time. I think it was just a whacking, like the corporal punishment, if you will, right? Mm-hmm. And they went through with it. And they were, human rights, and the Americans were up in arms, and blah, blah, blah. And then Singaporeans said, this is my country. This is my country. You graffiti, the penalty for graffiti is this, and that's what he's going to get. That kid is never going to graffiti in Singapore again. I can tell you that.
So just littering is harsh enough.
Yeah, littering, chewing, or you can buy gum, but you can't spit it out anywhere, and that's fair enough. And that's fair enough. Drugs, drug dealing, drug taking, drug trafficking, any kind of drug activity can, but doesn't necessarily have to, but can earn you the death penalty. And like I said, I spent a lot of time in Singapore. You will not find a safer place on the planet.
Yeah, that's good.
Anytime at night. Yeah, go on.
Oh, no, keep going. Anytime at night.
No. Look, anytime at night, you can walk anywhere you want. Like, literally. And I've never felt any unease in Singapore. And same goes with women. Women can walk around completely unmolested. I mean, is it everybody's cup of tea? No, it's not. Does it work? Yeah. It does work. They also
have something really interesting, Mickey. They have family loan. So you just keep paying it until it's paid off.
Yeah.
I know apartments are very, very expensive, but that's the way to do it.
I agree.
You make it like something you inherit. We inherit the loan for the building, or the whatever it happens to be. Mickey, that's a great segue to who owns the truth. Because that's I think that's one of the most important things. That if you want to enforce that there's only one truth, your one better be the right one, whoever if you're enforcing it. Do you know what I mean? If you're enforcing it, you're saying, well, this is the truth. So you get into a bit of a sticky thing with your population, that if what you said happens to be found out to not be the truth, that's a bit sticky, isn't it? Like, what do you do? If you've already locked people up because they're counter messaging you, then counter information, right? They're telling you that it's, telling the world or everyone that's not true. I think that's the big problem. And I mentioned fact checkers because they've shown bias and weren't entirely true. Some of the messages globally recently, for some reason, weren't all entirely true, and further examination today, outside of what we went through, has shown those to be right. People got cancelled. People were, lost jobs by making decisions, right? So I'm really thinking that they better get it right, because it's going to happen. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and we can't stop it. But if they want to build that wall, they better know that wall is doing the right thing. Does that make? I hope it makes sense. I'm not saying that our government or whoever they are in the world are creating a divisive barrier between. Even though I used the Freudian symbol of the wall, building something between us and them, which they probably could be, but I'm concerned with this is completely out of the 1984 handbook. And it's coming from above our own countries.
Yeah.
And look, I love the leader, Mickey. I love the leader more than anyone else.
I love the leader. Also, I want to have the leader's children.
I love the
boom! Right in your face.
Oh, so I wonder, Mickey, because you know what's really crazy? Do you remember that there was a person being interviewed with a live cross to another studio at one point, and this person started talking about George Soros. And I have a news story up here from a few days ago, 5 days ago. And the story is on foxnews.com, of all places, and it says, George Soros closer to controlling 200 radio stations despite objection from Trump-nominated FCC commissioner.
Huh.
And he's trying to shut down, apparently says, in the story, you can see it on screen, it says, this is the banner at the bottom. It wasn't a crawl, it was just a banner, and it says, is Soros trying to shut down conservative radio? It's a good question to ask, and I'm not going to say anything more than that.
Look, attempts can be made at anything. Is it an attempt? Maybe. Is it going to be successful? Not a chance. Not a chance. Not going to happen. Why? Because the audience is too big. If something is being shut down, something else will open up, and it'll be called something else. It's like in Germany, the Nazi Party was not allowed to. The National Socialist Workers' Party of Germany was not allowed to exist after World War II. Obviously. Obviously.
They had troubles. They had internal troubles, Becky.
Yeah, but you just call it something else. Same ideas, same kind of rhetoric, same kind of demographics, etc., etc. You just call it something else. Mm-hmm. It just pops up. It's like you remember OneTel? It was a telecommunications.
Yes.
Yeah, OneTel was a telecommunications company here. I think it was either late 90s or early teens. I think.
Is that the one? What Aussie Mail?
Yeah, they failed completely. The early noughties, it failed. It was between Packer and what's the other mob? The Packer and Murdochs. So it was one of the one son of each family got together, created Tele1, and it failed. Or maybe it was called OneTel. No, sorry, it was OneTel.
It was called OneTel.
Completely failed. was and people were left, out of house and home, and people didn't pay their debts. Blah blah. Blah.
Mm-hmm.
Couple months later, they opened Telly One. Same people.
They stayed up all
But
night
bankrupt.
creating that name.
Yeah. So one tel failed, bankrupt. Okay, well that's gone. File chapter 7 or whatever it's called.
Yep.
And chapter 11, any chapter you like, all the chapters.
They
I'm for
signed
seven.
every page.
They signed it all. And so they open up Telly One. Yeah, they still, like they've said, they stayed up all night figuring out that name. But, kudos to the creative team on that one. And
if only I'd put a reply to the RFP for the naming. That would have been great. I'll charge you $3 million.
But look, I think it's gold. I really think it's hilarious to just. I mean, what do you do? It's like that in everywhere. It's like in maybe you don't know this where you're from, but at the old carnivals or fêtes or country fairs, they had this whack-a-mole. It's not electronic.
Oh yeah, whack-a-mole. Yeah.
This large box with holes cut out on the top, and on intervals, little frogs or whatever creatures would stick their head out of the. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you had to whack it, right? Yep. And every time you whacked one, you got a point. So that was called whack-a-mole, and that's what this is.
And they would only stay with their popped up out proud of the surface for a certain amount of time.
Correct. In and out. Yeah. And but it didn't matter because even if you hit one, it'll just pop up somewhere else, and they all look the same. That was probably I should say that they all look the same. Mm-hmm. But it's hilarious. That's the world. I mean, you've got people here that is great. I mean, CEOs of companies, right? Disgraced, or any C-level kind of person, disgraced, this and that, bankrupt, and just avoided jail. But even if they hadn't avoided jail, all of a sudden they pop up again, running another company somewhere else. How did that happen? What? Didn't this person have 20 HR complaints against him at some point? Come on, what are you? Hey, give the guy a chance. He's changed. Really? Yeah, he's changed. Come on, man, what are you doing? He's a different kind of guy now. Okay, sure he is. I'm sorry, man, but this is just all wrong. We are living in a wrong world. I have nothing. I have nothing else. I got nothing. I go, what? Oh man, it's funny. It is funny. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I opened the show with a slide being presented. It's pretty funny. It's a meme. I did send it through to you before the show, and it's a map of Australia. Now, Australia's an island, sure. Surrounded by water. That's an island definition. It's the largest island and the smallest continent by definition. And the whole land is coloured green. Because so on radio, I'm describing it. And there's a thick outline around the land area, and then it's water. That's it. And there's Tasmania below us as well. And the green area says area where things on land can kill you. Then the water area around the outside says area where things in the water can kill you. And then the thick outline, it says both. And I just thought that went up my flagpole. I just really like that. I'm saluting this one. It's a tourist map of Australia. That to me is funny. And it's not scary. Not scary. It's as concerning, if you will. Any sign. You might see a sign that says, slippery road. That's concerning. It's not scary. If you're very careful, you can avoid it's a warning sign. Well, this should be on Australia's tourist pamphlet. It just should be. You should come here with the expectation that you're going to be scared out of your gourd. I love that expression. I got friends of mine, Mackie, that sent me photos the other day to go, what's this? And I go, oh, that's just a huntsman. It's a huntsman. It darted out from the painting on the wall and then went back behind the painting. What do we do? I said, well, you can sit and watch for it next time, knowing where it is, but it probably won't be there. Next time you go to look behind the painting, it won't be there. Oh, we're not going to look behind the painting. Oh, okay then. Well, you might see it in another room on the ceiling or the wall. My daughter goes, "Oh, Dad, there's a spider in my room." And I go, "Okay." And I just walk to the Tupperware container drawer and I get a piece and I get some cardboard. And I just, "Where is it?" She points and go, "Oh, there you go." And I call it, "Hey, leggy," because, they got a lot of legs. And I just put it over it, and put the paper behind it, and I just walk outside and let it go. My friend goes, "Is it deadly in the photo they sent?" And I go, "Nope." And they go, "Oh, so you can pick it up." I didn't say that. Don't do that.
It'll bite you.
That's bad. It'll bite you, and it's a hospital visit, but it's not deadly because we only have two definitions. We have deadly and there's everything else.
Everything else.
Doesn't mean you can play.
The thing is, the good thing about that particular critter, though, I mean, I personally would let it be, but my family is not the same. So I either.
No, they're not the same.
I have to say, I've taken them out. I've killed them both. I prefer to take them out, but the point is, they are actually great because they get rid of all the other stuff in your house. Like they eat the cockroaches and the other critters that are there that you might not like. And they're great pest control. And again, they bite you. My mom was bitten by one, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it was painful, but that was it, pretty much. There was no real side effects. The other spiders, they bite you, that you want to run. Well, you don't want to run to the hospital. You want someone else holding you while they're running to the hospital. And stops. They put compressions on it so that the toxin doesn't spread throughout your body. But
compression bandages are the best. Not a tourniquet. You don't want to do that.
No, not tourniquet. The tourniquet. Yeah.
No, that's bad because when they release it, you've got no oxygen blood and the venom as a rush through the body, and that can kill you quicker than just a compression bandage because they can release that really, really slowly. So, for those who are interested, I've got a little series of stuff that I find called Things in My Yard. If you type that into YouTube, you'll see me rescuing or grabbing or filming stuff that I find just on my block of land. And I play with one of the spiders. Don't do this at home. On my kitchen counter.
Dave's not a trained professional.
I'm not. But, I got to adulthood without dying, so I'm more professional than someone who hasn't encountered one.
Anybody in Australia who can say that has now just become one of the toughest people on the planet. Where are you from, Australia? I didn't die before I was 30. Sweet.
They take 2 steps backwards from you. He's a killer. He knows what he's talking about. Now, look, it's funny. So I'm amused by a lot. But there's things that worry me and there's things that scare me in the world. It's the way it is and it's crazy. I've used that too often. It's gone mad. Oh, Mackie, I sent you that video of the guy talking about the funny farm where they sent people.
I haven't watched it yet, but thank you. Yes.
Oh, do watch that. We can talk about it.
And we talked about this off air, everybody, and essentially, psychiatry, in my opinion, was invented only to be corrupted into a tool to parasites. Because once the psychiatrist has declared you incompetent, it's lights out for you, buddy.
That's forever. Yeah.
Yeah, and good luck to you. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, one of the best books and I guess one of the best movie adaptations, even though the movie adaptation is not faithful to the book, but it's neither here nor there. Do yourself a favor, watch it. This is exactly how the world works, okay? And lobotomy was a legitimate medical treatment at some point. Like, what's wrong with you? I got a headache. Lobotomy. I've got an itchy foot. Lobotomy. My wife doesn't love me. Lobotomy.
Hello. Hey, Homer. They let you keep the piece they cut out.
We are terrible. Yeah, we're
But
going straight to hell.
do you know what's funny? You've got to laugh. I think that's the key.
Oh, 100%, brother. If not, I'll be sitting in the corner in a fetal position, crying myself into a coma.
So, Jimmy Barnes in Saturday Night, the song, it's Cold Chisel. Cold Chisel. The band is called Saturday Night, the song, and he says, laugh or die. It's a reference to how hard life can be. So you've got to be able to laugh, and laugh at yourself, and laugh at situations, find humor in something, and I think that's, surely there's going to be someone who has a degree that can tell me that is wrong. You need to work through something and, charge them $400 an hour or something. Whatever it takes, to get through something safely and without harming others. I think it's important.
100%, brother.
And I'm not a medical professional, and I'm not giving medical advice.
But look, okay, we keep saying this, and it's true, but let me just say this as well. I believe if we lived healthy lives, stayed away from toxins that are being peddled to us every day, the food that we eat, and the medicines that we take, the alcohol, the cigarettes, etc., nothing wrong with tobacco, by the way. Tobacco is highly unlikely to kill you. Okay, it's the chemical components that go in it. Now, do I say you should smoke? No, by all means, don't smoke. Do not smoke. All right, but the additives that we add to cigarettes is what actually kills us. No, but the point is this: there's a lot of people out there that need or think they need this stuff, right? The medications and the psychiatry, the psychology, and all that. All you need, in my opinion, unless there's something, chemical imbalance in your brain, these things happen, or you got a physical injury, etc. If you had good friends and understanding family, people you actually loved and could talk to, actually talk to, right? I think the psychiatric profession would be out of business fairly quickly, because that's all they do.
So the social structure you have around you, the family structures you have around you, the infrastructure that is there as a support, where we have forum. I suppose, Mickey, you could say this, and it's real quick. Since we've decided that we have to live on our own and abandon the multi-generational living, I wonder if there's a correlation between that and people with disorders.
I think that's a valid point. Absolutely.
Good question.
I think multi-generational living was, for us as people, perfect. Number one, it gave purpose to the older people. It gave the younger people an insight into what happened before, traditions, stories, things, ways of doing things, recipes, even cooking, whatever it might be, right? It freed up other family members to do other things if that were necessary, right? But everybody had purpose. Everybody had purpose. Everybody was not everybody. Look, there's no such thing as perfect happiness, or like that's utopian. It's complete nonsense to even talk about it. But I believe, honestly, it was better, because now all we have is isolation, and that's the music, I think.
Yeah. Now 1 minute.
Yeah, isolation. Deliberate isolation. There has been a deliberate effort in the Western world, especially, and then in other nations as they adopt the Western lifestyle to separate us. The children should be out of your house when they're 18, 16 ideally. The old people should all go to old people's homes, right? And in fact, you should be divorced too, because you should be concerned with your individual happiness. But you know what? I think we find happiness in community and family. I really do. I really believe that is a thing, right? And a lot of things can be fixed and mended and made hale again if the community works together, and if people let it be done. But we're not given the opportunity. Now, go to get some good psychiatry medication. or get divorced, or whatever. Find happiness in the material things you buy. Big screen TV is going to make you happy. Really? Yes.
Oh, good. Well, look, coming up after the small break, it's 9/11, 23 years on, part 3. There's 2 other parts to that. And, Becky, 68% of people know what the true answer is. And that's, statistics are wrong. We'll be back after the break.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.